Welcome to another business casual meeting at home. I know I keep putting it on social media that I cannot wait for us to get all in person again. And for those of you that haven't been to an in-person meeting, this is kind of a hard way to like really get to know each other. I mean, we still get to learn and we still get to, talk to each other a little bit, but really getting to know each other is such a foundation for our group. And it just pains me that we can't like be in the same room and talk to each other the entire time, and because now our time is very limited by the rest of life happening outside of my bathroom and yours, that it just makes it really hard. So I'm really excited for us to get back to normal life, and it looks like things are starting to pick up again. I mean, I probably will continue on doing these virtual meetings for a little lot, quite a bit longer here. But once uh, things start opening back up for real, like restaurants, Perk, we all love Perk, those places that we can go to and sit in and everybody starts to feel comfortable, what we'll probably do is have a once a week meeting in person and then still also have a virtual meeting for those that either don't feel comfortable or physically can't get to those places, because I know that in the past we've had that as well. Like you just can't get to a meeting in person. So we will continue this virtual portion of business casual even after quarantine life is over. So I think that it's a really good opportunity for those that feel like, well, I can't leave my job during the day to go to a meeting or whatever. They can still join business casual, or they can still be a part of it and be a really active part of it. So I'm excited to kind of continue on and grow and pivot as we continue and learn what life is like now after COVID-19. But today's topic is really fun and really exciting. I've done a lot of research on it, and come to find out we have someone local that is more or less an expert and who I took a lot of notes from and I'm going to use here today. And so I'm going to be reaching out to her, and hopefully maybe we can get her to connect with us somehow to business casual and maybe get some real expert advice. But today's topic is all about creating your own PR and being your own public relations agent when we really, none of us, not none of us, there are some of us that have PR people and, and marketing agencies, but for the most part, we're female entrepreneurs with local small businesses, most of us. And, if we want to get noticed by the media or by people out in the public, then it's up to us, right? We are all of it. We are the boss. We are the marketer. We are the customer service. We are the service provider, all of the things. And so I wanted to go over today how to be your own PR person and how to get some media coverage. So if you want to be seen as the expert in your industry and you want, that kind of PR where people are putting you in magazines or you are being featured on someone's blog post and that type of stuff, no one is going to go out there and get that for you, right? That is totally up to you. But it's also a way to be seen as an expert in your industry, in your niche, and what, and things you talk about currently on your social media posts and on your own website, but to get that out there and to show people just what an expert you are. We've talked about this a lot over the last few weeks. It's like solidifying your authority in whatever it is that you do. And this is just a fantastic and often free, should be free way to do it. So that's really what PR is. I mean, if you have like a PR agency or a marketing agency, you are paying them to do this work for you. But if you can do some of it yourself, then you really are doing this for free. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for mainstream and non-traditional coverage of our business, of ourselves, so that we can be seen as the expert in what we do. So if you think I'm not ready for that, right? Like, I mean, I'm just started my business, or I'm pivoting, or I'm rebranding, or whatever it is, that's really just an excuse. Really, the question that you should be asking yourself is, do I want another client, or do I want another customer, or do I want another brand deal, right? If you're asking yourselves those three things and the answer to any of them is yes, then you are ready for PR. You are ready to be the expert in your industry, and you wouldn't be here, working towards learning more. You wouldn't be here trying to push your business through this COVID-19 situation if you didn't feel that you are worthy of that, right? That you're worthy of being called an expert in what you do. So if anybody wants to speak up, I know most of you are muted, but if anybody wants to speak up and just kind of give me some ideas of what you think PR like platforms are, it's probably pretty basic, but I would just love to hear some voices here. So kind of give me a list of some things that you think, some places you think that are worthy of public relations. For instance, if you, like I said before, if you get to contribute to someone's blog post or blog, right? You write a post for somebody, that is PR. I mean, you're putting yourself out there and you're being seen as an expert, and somebody else is giving you the credit. Like here, I brought Leanne on to talk to you about how to fast track your morning routine so you can get dressed every day. That is PR. So if anybody else wants to speak up and throw out some things, I'll call that guest posting. You have what?
I have a recommendation. I used to, before I started working full-time in an office, I would pitch the news stations, the local news stations. And I used to do a lot of news segments that were related to my blog topics, and I would get other brands involved. Mm-hmm. But ultimately it was giving tips to the news channel's audience, but it was getting my name out there as being like the mom blogger expert kind of person.
Absolutely. And TV is kind of the top of the pyramid. So, we're going to kind of talk about this like pyramid of what's considered, like traditional, like, mainstream media, and TV is the top. And so, yes, and we're going to go over that today too, and kind of how you do that and how you get there. And maybe you can chime in too, Dana, that would be fantastic. So
yeah,
awesome.
I still put it.
Oh, cool. Very good. Anyone else want to throw some ideas? All right, no big deal. I have lots of stuff here. So, and we'll talk about that pyramid. So TV, being in magazines, being in newspapers, we have a lot of local magazines, being on somebody's, blog, like I said, like guest posting, writing, or doing like collaborations, like a video with someone, maybe on their YouTube channel. What other things are there? Being on someone's podcast, that's a really big one. That's a huge one that's come up really popular in the last, 4 or 5 years. And so being on someone's podcast, and then just all your kind of mainstream, like I said, like magazines, newspapers, being on TV. So these are all the things that can set you apart as the expert and the authority in what you do, because it's like a recommendation, right? It's like a referral. Our best business is, usually from someone who says, oh my gosh, I love what Leanne did for my closet, whatever, like you should use her. Well, if a newspaper, if the Palm Beach Post also either writes up something or I've contributed something, it's a vouch. I didn't pay for that advertisement. I didn't pay someone to tell you how good I am. They're vouching for me and they're telling you how good I am, or they're allowing me to come on and write about it. And so, they thought I was worthy of that, so that I was an expert enough in what I'm doing. So that's kind of the reason we do it. And, everybody's big dream is like, oh, I want to be on like Good Morning America or the Today Show. But really, we are local businesswomen that are starting here in our local communities. And so we want to build local authority first. I have to sneeze. Hang on a second. Also, a pre-warning. Oh my gosh, Diana, your video from last week when your son ran in. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's on our Instagram stories right now. It was hilarious. I didn't even notice it when it happened, but her son ran in his underwear behind her and was pitching a fit. It's hilarious. So you guys got to see that.
It's the visual representation of having children during quarantine.
Yes, that's what exactly. Yes. So, it was so cute. And I should have screenshotted too when my daughter was like standing in the background just crying, like standing there like a ghost child. But today my husband is not here, so I've given the children their iPads or Amazon Kindles, whatever. So just warning you guys, we may have an interruption. But let's start in on how you can do this. Like, how can I then get my own PR, right? Well, obviously you're going to need to pitch yourself. And when you pitch yourself to people, and we're going to go through this whole thing, like how to do it, where to find people, what to do, after you get some coverage, and then kind of these steps, like how we go from small to big in this PR pyramid. But just thinking broad picture here, you have to think ahead, a few steps ahead, right? Okay, so I want to get into the Palm Beach Post, let's say, or I want to get on the local news station. And again, Dana, please, you have experience with this, so please pop in if you want to. But I need to think about how I'm going to pitch myself, right? How am I going to do this? And Diana, I know she pitches to brands. You know, our bloggers are good at that. They pitch to brands. That's how they make their money, right? So they're used to that. And I think that they would tell you the same thing. And it applies to this, is that we have to think about the audience, right? The audience that they are selling to. So you're not going to ever go into this pitch thinking, I want to sell my product or my service. You're thinking, how can I help their audience, right? How can I help their customer? The sale and the, selling like my styling services is not what I'm going to get on there and talk about. I want to talk about how busy mom, whatever, I'm just using random examples, but how busy moms that feel like they don't have time to get dressed in the morning can actually do it. And it has nothing to do with me coming in and selling them my $100 product or whatever. It just has to do with my tips and my tricks so that I'm seen as the authority in doing that. So you always want to focus on the expertise part, not on the actual sale, like what you're selling. That comes later. That is what you get. Right now, we're just building like our brand awareness and our self-awareness. Well, not self-awareness, that's the wrong word, but our personal awareness. So focus on the expertise of what you want to talk about. Focus on the audience that they're talking to, and never about the sale, the client, the service, the product, or the gaining a new client or the service or the product that you're selling. You also want to think local, right? So I said, like, okay, it's everybody's dream. Like, I want to be on this big, huge program, whatever, or I want to be in Inc. magazine, or I want to be on, some, big mom magazine, parenting magazine or whatever. Start thinking local first and think about that local audience. So for me, I gear towards moms, right? So I would probably any type of publication or show that is geared towards moms, whether it has to do with their kids or them, what I talk about has to do with moms. I would also probably look into anything that has to do with style, with fashion, those sort of things. So you want to think about the audience that they are going for, and then who is doing that already, right? Who in the mainstream media, and then these kind of non-traditional ones like podcasts and such, and YouTube, who else is talking to the same audience? Because those are the people that I want to be talking to, and those are the people that I want to be seen as an expert by. So you want both types of coverage, though. It's great to be interviewed by somebody, but it's also great to contribute to someone. So if I want to, we have a lot of local magazines around, right? There's like Jupiter Magazine, okay? That's one of them. And it might be great for me to contribute an article to them. And it has to do with how, to help their audience. But it would also be great if somebody, one of their journalists came to me and wanted to interview me about it. So you want to kind of get a balance of those, because they're both good for both reasons. If they want to interview you, it's great. They see you as the expert. If you want to contribute, you get to expand on the things that you are really, really good at. And then you can get more in depth about certain subjects. You can show people what you want to be known for. So both are a good balance. I can't, you want both. You want to stay in your niche, even if it's a general topic. So let's say that they are doing let's say the Palm Beach, or the local news station is doing a top 10 roundup of Mother's Day gifts, right? And so that's a very general topic, because there's lots of gifts out there. There's lots of different things that you could give a mom. But Shannon has Initial Styles, so she's going to stay in her niche, and she's probably going to say, here, I've got something that Initial Styles monogramming store, if anyone doesn't know. A gift shop. Sorry, it's not just monogramming, but a gift shop and they offer monogramming. But she's probably going to put something in, if they ask her for, something to add to this top 10 list, something that really represents her store. She's going to stay really, what's the word? She's going to stay within her niche. She's going to probably pick something that goes really well with what her store represents, and maybe have it monogrammed as well, so that she can be really stay in there. That's product is a little different than our services, but let me give another topic. So so let's say that the subject of the article that's being written in the Palm Beach Post is on things you can do during quarantine to I don't know, I'm faltering here on an example. Things you can do during quarantine to stay healthy, right? And so one of you is in the fitness industry, and so you want to contribute something, but you mostly do Pilates. And so you're going to really niche down on the Pilates aspect of it. So you want to stay kind of niched into what you're known as the expert for. I hope that made sense. I kind of messed that up there. So the pyramid that I was talking about is kind of where you should start. If you're starting at the beginning of this journey and you're like, I need to get some PR for myself, it would be really great to do that. You know,
A meeting.
Here's the first thing. The bottom of the pyramid is your own website, your own blog. Where do people go once they've heard about you, they know about you, you've talked to them, you've written something. Where are people going to find you? And so you have a website or a blog. We're just going to use website as, that general term there. So you have a website, you have somewhere for them to go. You become really good at using this website to show your expertise, to niche down, and to be the authority on exactly what you're talking about. This is where you get your practice. This is where you lay your foundation. This is also where people are going to go. So you start there with that website. The second part of it is guest posting, right? Guest posting on people's blogs, guest posting in traditional mainstream media like newspapers and magazines, guest posting or hosting on people's videos, and collaborating with other like YouTubers or whoever else it is. And then the next level would be this podcasting and video. So podcasting is it's not a traditional form of media. And however, it's becoming known more and more as like a very trusted source, right? I mean, you think people that have a reliable, trustworthy, really jam-packed with good content podcast, they know what they're doing. And many people in that audience see those people that way. And so if you can get onto a podcast, it's almost getting to be the equivalent of like getting into your local newspaper or being featured on somebody's blog, and so, or their website. So podcasts are really huge right now, and I think that staying deep down in your niche is really important there. So many of you are really good at running your business, right? You're really, really good at it. So you may be on someone's podcast who maybe her podcast is all about women women that are entrepreneurs. But when you get onto her podcast, or when you're pitching, what you want to talk about, you really need to stay in your niche and kind of what your specialty is and how you have applied, some of those principles to your business. So just think about it that way. You're not going to go on there and be like, well, I just want to talk about women in business because that's what you talk about. I'm a woman in business, so I can just talk about being a woman in business, but you have to make it more specific and keep it on, in your niche. So how do we find these people, these podcasters, journalists, and, bloggers, and to work with? Well, it's really just pull it up by the bootstraps and dig in and do some work, right? Unfortunately, nothing comes easy. And it's great to have connections, and it's great to know people. And if you do, that's amazing and that's awesome, and use those connections. But at some point, you're going to have to go outside of that, and you've got to do your own research. So get connected, do some LinkedIn digging. LinkedIn is, you can make good connections there, but I would say really it's almost like being a search engine, this professional search engine. If I want to be on the local WPTV, I'm probably going to go to their news site, to their LinkedIn site, and look and see who the people are that are in charge of getting on air talent, or who are in charge. I'm going to find out who the journalists are, who the broadcasters are, and maybe make some connections, or at least jot down those names and figure out if I can make a connection with them. It's a little deep dive. It's going on to Instagram. It's going on to Facebook. Making connections with those people. And it's also, I hate to say it because I don't know, how many of you have a Twitter account? Okay, Dana, yeah, not many, right? And I've never been on Twitter. I know nothing about it. I mean, it's a whole foreign language to me. I'm sure it's easy to figure out. It's been around a long time, but I've never done that. And it really doesn't do much for me as far as my business goes, right? As far as growing my business. However, I will tell you that that's where the journalists are. That's where the newscasters are hanging out. That's where the journalists are. And if there's anything newsworthy, they are on Twitter. And if you want to make a connection with that person, if that's really your goal here, like your long-term goal here is to be in the newspaper, be on the magazines, be on TV, then making connections is probably, it's worth your time to invest 30 minutes a week into Twitter. And when I say 30 minutes a week, I haven't even mentioned who I got all this information from. Do any of you know Christina All Day, the blogger, Wellington? Dana, I'm sure you do, because she's out there with you. She's in Wellington. She is a blogger. She owns a PR agency. She was a former news broadcaster and a journalist. And she was on a podcast that I was listening to last week. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is all great info. I didn't realize she was from Wellington at the time. I'm just listening and I'm like, oh, I'm starting to take notes, and listening to it. And then she has her own podcast called The Media Maven. And so I go onto Media Maven and I'm listening, I'm kind of flipping through it all. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Then I go to her blog. So she has her PR side. She also has a personal blog. And I go to her blog and I'm like, Wellington, Florida, what? That's so cool. She's right here. And she's really where I got all this information from. I did go, try to do a little more on some of my other favorite podcasters and stuff, but really I felt like this was so applicable. And I thought it's really cool that she's here in town because I'm hoping we can make a connection. Maybe Dana can help us out with that and get her to help us a little bit. But so anyway, she's going to tell you though that Twitter is where all these journalists hang out. And so if it seems overwhelming and this is something though that you're serious about doing and you really want to be your own PR agent, then you could maybe commit 30 minutes a week to getting onto Twitter and connecting with 5 of these journalists, 5 to 10 of these journalists. And when I say connect, I don't know the terminology, but I think retweeting stuff they do, tagging them in a post, in something that you post, that sort of thing. Can be really helpful to making a connection so that when you do pitch your ideas, then you already have kind of a baseline. You can be like, hey, such and such news anchor, I just emailed you an idea for a story. Just keep an eye out for it. That way maybe it'll stand out, because I will tell you that journalists, newscasters and others, they get hundreds, if not thousands of pitches, probably a day, a week, I don't know, just tons and tons. And so if there's a way to stand out, it may be to make a connection. So that's one way you can find these people. You could also join HARO. I don't know how many of you have heard about HARO before. It's Help a Reporter Out is what it stands for. Apparently it used to be really, really great. And what it is a site where you can go and register as kind of like the expert in your industry and what you do in your niche, right? And you fill out a little questionnaire. There is a free version, and you can fill out a little questionnaire and just kind of say what you are really, really good at and what your niches are. Reporters are always needing sources, right? So they have, tons of stories that they're doing on a constant basis. Every day. This is for TV. For magazines, pretty similar. Newspapers, though, it's the same thing. Magazines, not as similar. They're a little more lengthy in time, but they're always looking for content, right? They're always looking for things. So if they have stories, though, and they need a source, they need someone to get a quote from, they go to HARO and they look for, the answers there. They look for people to talk to. So a great example that Christina gave on one of her, and she said it several times, several places, is there was a story that she was doing on a heroin overdose. And so she needed a source though she needed a quote from a doctor to talk about this. And so she goes to HARO and finds this doctor on HARO and is able to use him, to quote from. So HARO is a really great place to go to. It is unregulated. So there are things on there that are a little sketchy. All you do is go on there, you fill out the questionnaire, and then you can check your email a few times a day, and there will be opportunities for being featured or for being quoted or for helping to write something, and you can answer them if you want to. The only reason I say it's unregulated, you need to kind of be careful, is because it can be time consuming, right? It can be a lot. I think they put out the emails 3 times a day. And so a lot of information is coming in all at once, and it's a lot to go through and filter through. But if you can come up with a system that works for you, if you're looking at it once or twice a week or whatever it is, the thing is, it's timely, right? Like they need a source yesterday. And so you have to decide how important that is to you. But it is a really great place to make some connections. And the other thing is sometimes it's not always the news or the actual media that is reaching out to you. It's somebody trying to sell you something. So you can kind of get caught up in that. You do all this work and then they're just like, oh, well, if you pay $100 for this, we'll put you in our thing. That's not what PR is. That's not what, reporters are supposed to do. And so don't ever pay for anything on Hero. Besides if you want to up your membership. It does have a membership cost if you are interested. There is a free version, but if you want like to be more specific or to get the better leads, I guess, they're going to make you pay for it. So, but the next level up is like $19 a month. So if this is really something that you're interested in and you want more news coverage or more media coverage, then this might be worth the $19 a month for you. Newsjacking. So newsjacking is a term where we kind of not like ambulance chase, but almost like try to jump on whatever is happening in the news at the time. So obviously quarantine is a huge thing right now, right? It's all over the news. COVID-19, constant. You can't turn on the news without them talking about it. So if there was some way that you could put a spin on that and make it timely, newsjacking is jumping on whatever is timely, like whatever is right now going on. The doctor was the perfect example that I just said. So there was a famous celebrity that had a heroin overdose. So this doctor was able to kind of newsjack, right? He was able to get on and get some credibility and show as he's an authority figure in this. But he had nothing to do with the heroin overdose. He just happened to be a source that, that could hop on here into that story. So newsjacking is just that. I think Mother's Day is coming up. I know Mother's Day is coming up. And I think this is a fantastic opportunity to newsjack, right? We know that lots of bloggers are writing stuff about Mother's Day. We know that local, what's the word I'm looking for? Newspapers and magazines and stuff are doing, featuring, top 10 things for Mother's Day, or you're here to do this for your mother. This is something that you could newsjack, right? This is something that you could get in on. I'm sure that the local news is doing stories on, things to get mom for Mother's Day and this weird, strange Mother's Day this year and stuff like that. And so for Shannon, this is a great opportunity because she has an actual product, right? For others though, this is also an opportunity to sell your product. So here's an idea. This doesn't have to do with Mother's Day, but has to do with quarantine. So many of us would love to, while we're at home and spending this time at home, do some home projects, right? To maybe change up the decor or something. So this is an opportunity for Jessica or for Dana or for some of our interior designers to hop on and, and pitch to someone like, hey, I've got a great idea. If people are looking to update their homes or do these things to their homes, but at an affordable price during quarantine, here's some ideas that they can have. They're just kind of spitballing here, but this is called newsjacking. When whatever is going on in the world and the current affairs right now, and you are able to put your own little spin on it and get in there and somehow become either a source or a contributor or being interviewed for that. So one thing you don't want to do when you're trying to reach out to journalists and such, like I said, we're pitching now, right? We're going to pitch to these people our ideas, our story ideas, our feature ideas, how we can help them, how we can help their audience. Don't send any kind of press release. So they don't want to see that. If you have a new product coming out or a new service coming out and you just send a press release and you're like, I'd love to talk to you about this, it's not going to work. They get so many press releases a day. And according to Christina, the expert here, her name is Christina Nicholson, by the way, if you guys don't know who I'm talking about, she's like, press releases are old school. Like that's not exactly, people want content and want quality, good content now. A press release is not anything they're going to take a second look at. So don't do that. You need to email, your pitch, email your pitch to start, unless you have a connection and you can actually like speak to this person and get on the phone. Fantastic. That's amazing. But you're going to, most times, if it's a blogger you don't know personally, like you guys aren't friends that call each other, you may want, you're going to have to email her or message her and say, hey, can I get your email? I have a great idea for, something that your audience would love. So you're going to have to email. If you are going to news, okay, this is the same for bloggers, whatever type of coverage you're trying to get, but especially for the news, things that they are churning out stories constantly. you're going to have to follow up. And if you don't hear from them, you got to follow up. You got to follow up once, twice, 3 times. And if after a little while, it's not timely anymore, like if I'm pitching a Mother's Day idea, obviously I'm not going to pitch that anymore after next Sunday. So make sure that you back off and go back to the drawing board and come up with a new idea. So you want to also keep these emails short, sweet, to the point. We can get really wordy because we get really excited about what we're doing and about our business, but that's not always what's important to them. They want to know how you're going to help their audience and how you're going to help them, right? I'm going to make your life easier because I'm going to come in and write this blog post for you that I think your audience is going to love and take away X, Y, and Z from. That's what they want to hear. And so, you don't have to go into detail about, what you do and what your background is. I mean, you definitely want to mention a couple of things, but they'll check you out. If they are really interested in your idea and what you want to do, then they're going to also check you out. So, and we also can send a press kit, which we're going to go over in more detail probably next week. We're going to talk about press kits and talk about what it is and how to make one and how to keep it really easy and simple for you and have exactly what it needs. But you also could send a press kit. So one thing you want to do if you are going after PR and you're trying to get these blog posts or contribute something or get on a podcast or be on TV or be in a magazine or be in a newspaper, is that you have to have your system set up and ready to go, so that if somebody does want to know more about you or does want to know what you do, make sure everything is up and running. So if I guest post or I'm on somebody's podcast, right, and I'm talking about business casual on there, and I'm talking about what we do and how amazing it is and blah, 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 and I'm going on and on and on. And they're like, great, where can people find you? Well, guess what? Business Casual doesn't have a website right now. So strike one on that. This is if I was really trying to reach out, right, to other people. But I could tell them to go to Instagram, right? Go to Instagram, you'll see everything that you need to know. And then I make sure that I have on there, in the bio linked where they can join, where they can find out more info, or, all that sort of thing. So make sure your systems are set up for that. The worst thing that can happen is that you work so hard for some of this coverage, some of this media coverage or podcasts or whatever it is, and then nobody can find you afterwards, or nobody can work with you, or nobody can come to you afterwards. Maybe they're not even a customer. Maybe it's not a client. Maybe it's not somebody that actually wants to spend money with you, but they want you to then come be on their podcast, or they heard you and now they want to do a story on you in the newspaper. And so you need to make sure that all your systems are set up to go so that people can work with you afterwards. All right. I know we're getting run down on time here. So here is something really cool that I wanted to talk about. I'm just going to go through this list super fast. This is what to do after you get some coverage. Some of you have had coverage, right? Some of you have been featured on other blog posts, have been on a podcast, have been, featured in a roundup, like a top 10 something. Some of you have, garnered expertise or garnered, that's not the right word, garnered. Anyway, some of you are experts and you are known for that. And so what do you do after you get some of this coverage, right? If I get featured on someone's podcast, yay, it doesn't do anything for me though if I don't do more afterwards. And so here's this quick list. It's like 20 things. I'm just going to speed through it. And then I will put this all in the email for you guys that you'll get next week. But afterwards, you want to repeatedly share it on social media, right? So there's a very, 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 very strong chance that all of the people that follow me on social media did not listen to the podcast that I was a guest on. But if I share that over and over again, right? I share it a bunch when it first comes out. I set up some sort of schedule where maybe I share it every 3 weeks. Maybe I share it every month, whatever it is. You want to share. You want to share on all your social media feeds. And LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place to share this stuff because, again, it's just building credibility and it's showing that you're legit. You're like a legit businesswoman, right? So you want to consistently share. You want to, if it's something that was really noteworthy, like let's say you were on the local news. Let's say you were featured in Inc. magazine or Entrepreneur magazine or something. That's something really legit and really mainstream that people recognize and people know. That might be worth if you did a post about it and it was a good post about it, it might be worth doing a paid advertisement with, like boosting that post. So just keep that in mind, because the more recognition, that the media source was, the more recognized that the media source was, the more it'll benefit you if you are showing that over and over and over again. So if I am on, a bunch of bloggers' websites, but I land a spot in, like I said, like Entrepreneur Magazine, I'm probably really going to push that Entrepreneur Magazine. So just know that those brands, they really do help. Tag the journalist, the author, the podcaster, the blogger, whoever it is. Every time you share it, tag them, because there's still a chance that they're going to tag, retag or repost what you put out and share it again. So sharing is caring, people. It's to get eyes on what you put out. Sharing is really where it's at. And when I say repeatedly show this over and over again, nobody's going to get mad at you if you are bragging, right? If you're like saying like, I was in the Palm Beach Post, and here was the article that they wrote. No one really is going to mind, because they're just seeing that as, man, she's proud of herself, and I'm proud of her too. The thing is that, was I putting that on there? The thing is that people don't generally always see what you put out on social media, right? We talk about this all the time. I can put a post out. It doesn't mean that all my followers are going to see it, right? So we have 500 followers on Business Casual. Not all 500 people are looking at every single post that we see. And most people, unless they're really, really interested in doing a deep dive, are not going to go to your page every day, your particular page, to see what you posted today. I mean, that's pretty rare. I mean, that's not the normal activity now. We scroll, and it's a constant feed. So if you put on there 3 weeks ago that you were in the Palm Beach Post and this article, there's a great chance that the people 3 weeks later, that when you post that, it's going to be different people that see that. So just keep that in mind, that it's okay to repeat. We talked about that when we talked about our 3 to 5 pillars, just constantly repeating yourself. And this is something to be proud of. Repurpose into a video for social media. If you're featured in a few different blogs, you're featured in a few different places, put it together in a little video. If it's not actual video that you're putting on there, get screenshots, get screen grabs, get the logos of those people, that, or their website or their blog post, or sorry, not blog post, their blog, and screenshot it and make a fun little video. We have lots of fun little apps to make cute little videos now. You could create like a sizzle reel. You can, like a 30 second to 1 minute little video of, all the places you've been featured. And so saying that, keep track of these, right? Keep track of these. I'm working right now with a style blogger who, we're working on her website, and she's been featured on the Target website so many times. Like, they've reposted her, and that's media coverage, right? And Target is a huge deal. It's a huge brand. And I'm like, well, have you kept track of these? Like, have you written down, somewhere, or put it in your computer somewhere, all the times you've been on there, and saved those pictures? And she's like, oh, well, it's in my phone. And I'm like, girl, we need to keep track of this. Like, right, we need to make sure that we have something that shows that Target symbol and shows that. So just keep that in mind, like, keep track of this stuff and think back. Have you been featured on anything, right? Have other people reposted what, or not reposted, have people posted things that you've contributed? Let's see what Jessica said. The link's back from saying like it is super powerful essay. Yes. I was going to mention that too, Jessica. That is an awesome thing to say. Things that can link back to like traditional media are huge for your SEO, for Google. And if you've ever wondered how people get verified on Instagram, it takes a lot of media coverage. However, that is one of the methods, is that they, like, if somebody's trying to get verified, that little check mark by them, it's mostly like celebrities and like really big names and such. They go through and they look to see how much media coverage, like traditional media coverage that they've had. So it's really good for SEO, and it's really good for Google. So make sure that you're putting that everywhere. And that's what I was going to say, is put it on your website, put it on your blog, put it in all these different places. A really cool place to put it, in your email signature. You're sending out emails all the time, add a little tagline, as seen in or as seen on, and put the little link to it. So this is a really great place to stick it, because it's not that necessarily that people are going to constantly click on that, but they just see it under your name every time. You know, they see it's kind of out of the corner of their eye, and it just adds more credibility. You could summarize an essential point from that media hit, and repurpose it as a discussion. So an example is, if I'm on someone's podcast, you know, Palm Beach local podcast, and talking about, you know, female entrepreneurs, then I may take a little portion of that, turn it into a podcast, and then start a discussion by asking, you know, who are some of your favorite female local female entrepreneurs? Or, you know, I'm just spitballing again, but, you know, I could start a conversation based off of that. So you can reuse and repurpose this over and over and over and over again. Ask a few people to comment on the social share. So you want to gain some traction on this. If you post that you were on someone's podcast, right, and you make a post and no one's really responding, literally reach out to a few people, text them and ask them, hey, I just posted this, I'm super excited, can you go on there and comment for me? Just get the ball rolling, right? There's no shame in self-promotion when you own your own business anyway. You can use the logos from the places that you've been featured, and use like as seen on or as seen in all your marketing materials, on your website, in your email signature, like I said, in all these different places. If you're a brick and mortar location, store, service, product, you know, frame your media placements and put them on the wall. If you're not brick and mortar, but you do trade shows, or you go to different events and where you have like a table or something, frame them and put them on the table. It just adds more credibility, and it's a morale booster for yourself. Like, oh, look where I've been featured, you know, but frame them and put them out, let people see them. You want to provide links to any past coverage to gain new coverage, right? So if I am pitching to, to guest post on someone's blog who's kind of a big deal, I want to show them that, hey, I've actually written a few blog posts for other people as well. And doesn't, you know, it start local, right? It doesn't have to be big ones, but if I'm posting for someone local or for someone smaller, I want to link to those and show them. Christina, the woman I was listening to, said, you know, national news doesn't really want to feature somebody that hasn't been on local news yet. So you have to think about that, like pyramid, that foundation, the building up, right? So think about that, and always provide those links back to all those, to those other examples. Share in an email, share in a blog post. You have somebody who is maybe want to sign on with you as a client, but they're kind of still on the fence. Shoot them a quick email with those links, right? If Jess is trying to get a new client for the Pop Home, and the person's just kind of like, oh, I'm just not really sure. She's like, you know what? I'm going to actually send you an email just with some cool stuff on there. And lo and behold, in there is a little link like as seen on, you know, click here to see where I was featured or whatever. So it's just, again, adding more credibility, adding, you know, more authority, and showing how you're an expert in what you do. And then you want to also use these. You could also provide those links in your bio. Like if you change it to a link, let's say you are featured in Jupiter Magazine and they have it online, and you're able to get a URL link, but it's like this long, gigantic link. You can use Bitly to shorten that down. You could also and you could put that in your bio. Or so many of you have like the link tree where, you know, click here for whatever more, and you can go on there and look and see, and maybe it could be like, I don't know, you could just put a link on there to the article, you know, like, see where I was featured here or whatever it is. I'm not using the right words, but I think you guys get my drift. The last thing is to feature it in your press kit, your speaker kit. And we will talk about that next week more in depth about how to create a press kit and what it is and how you can use it, and how, even if you're not looking for regular PR, why it's important to still have one, and how you can kind of change it up so that you can use it just for regular client purposes. And so that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I went long. I know it's 12:45. I had so much information to tell you. I got really excited listening to this week because I thought, I do need to do this, right? I need to talk about the Mama Crush. I need to talk about it because we've talked so much about setting ourselves up for the next month and getting ourselves ready to come back out. Well, what if I had a couple of media hits to back me up so that once this is over and I get to come back out swinging with my business, I also now have more credibility and more expertise. And what better time to do it than now when I can't actually work with clients, but I could work on my business more. So I think that this is an awesome opportunity to do it. And I can't hire a PR person, right? There's no income coming in right now. I can't spend any money on hiring somebody to do this for me. So I'm going to learn how to do it myself. So, okay, I'm going to get off because unless you guys have something to say or something to add, Dana, I'm going to talk to you more. I don't know if she's still on here. Oh, she got off. Anyway, I'm going to talk to her more about maybe we can hook up with Christina and have her kind of come on to one of our calls and talk to us more about it too, because I'm sure she has much better advice than I do. And that's it. Does anybody have anything they need to say or talk about? No? All right, one picture real quick. Everybody smile.
Can I ask you guys for a favor, since you said ask your people? So I'm on the Social Hummingbirds Instagram today I'm baking banana bread. Well, it's already taped because I didn't want to have to do live again, as we all know, you know what could happen in my house. So anyway, if you guys hop over there and want to leave a comment or want to just check it out, that'd be awesome.
All right, so it's over on the Social Hummingbird. If you guys aren't following her, follow the Social Hummingbird. If you're not following the Kitchen Prep, please do. But she's featured on the Social Hummingbirds Instagram stories today. So go on there, comment, like it, all that good stuff. So awesome. All right, ladies, thank you so much. And I know this was a lot of info today. You'll be getting a really good email for next week with lots of good stuff. So talk to you all soon. Oh, picture, smile. Thank you. See you guys. Bye.